Two things. First, just a reminder, and then the other, the homily. On the reminder, for the past couple of weeks, you've seen advertised in the bulletin that today we're going to have a sale for frozen cookie dough. And the benefit of that is the parish of St. James over in Bootle, where Father Jerry is the pastor. Father Jerry arrives here a week from now, and I depart a week right after that. But Jerry's coming over, and one of the things he asked for was some help. His parish has suffered some problems for their youth program, and I'm sure he'll talk about it when he gets here. But he's asked if somehow or another we could help his kids put together some money for their youth programs. And I said we would do what we could. So we're having this frozen cookie dough sale, and 100% of our profits from that will go to helping out Jerry's youth program. Enough. Homily. Power. What images come to your mind when you think of power? You know, if you're a fan of the movies like Transformers or Captain America or any of the Marvel characters, power means you blow things up. You know, blood and buildings and everything kind of scatters all over the place. It's powerful. It's the ability to make things happen the way you want them. And I think we would say God's powerful. You know, he blows things up. Not really. He makes people do what he wants. Not really. Power. It's very important to us to have power, don't we? You know, those of you that are parents or grandparents, we want our kids to do what we want them to do. And how often do people come to me and say, you know, Father, you have to tell them. As if people are going to do something because I said so. Power. The ability to force people to do things our way. That's a very big thing in our country. Somehow or another, we want the power to make people do it our way. And yet, we hear in the first reading, the book of wisdom, the power of our God. We heard it a couple of weeks ago when Deacon Bill was talking about the meekness of God, that we have a meek God. And the definition of meekness was a person who had power and the wisdom to not use it. And we hear in the book of wisdom the leniency of God. God who's he accountable to? Not accountable to anybody. Who's going to tell God you're wrong? Who's going to tell God you didn't do it my way? And yet, God is lenient in the use of his power. How many times have any one of us sat back and said, now they're going to get it. Or we hope that they get it, you know, the way we want. Kind of like kids, you know, who maybe got told on by their brother or sister or got in trouble because of something their brother or sister did, and mom finds out. Now you're going to get it. And God doesn't do that. What a disappointment God is. Somehow or another, God should do it my way. God should fix the world the way I want it. And yet, what we hear in Scripture is that the power of God is exercised in his ability to leave us free, to be lenient. In the gospel, we hear the story of the weeds and the wheat. And I intentionally read the short form, not just because it's warm, but because that's the older form of it. And probably most likely what Jesus exactly said. And he left the description of the comparison of the parable to another time. The weeds and the wheat. When weeds and wheat are growing up, most of the time you can't tell the difference between the two. And they have to grow together so that you can sort them out. And that it's God who sorts them out, not us. I wonder, at the end, when the weeds and the wheat are gathered and separated, will the ones that we think should be wheat and the ones that we think should be weeds be what we think? We may be surprised at who ends up as wheat. We may be surprised at who ends up as weeds. Because in God's lenience and God's mercy, God does not see the way we see. And the power of our God is exercised in mercy and in compassion. The challenge to us in our daily living is that you and I claim to be Christians, which means we claim not only to be baptized, not only to share in the Eucharist, but to be people who model the way we live after Jesus Christ himself. So how do we exercise power? You and I. And we've all got it. Every single one of us has power. How do we exercise that? Is it in leniency? Is it in mercy? Is it in that meekness that Deacon Bill talked about 2 weeks ago? Is it in the ability to allow people freedom to be who they are and allow God to make the judgments about which is good or not? That you and I may learn the exercise of power through mercy, through meekness, and through freedom, so the power of our God can shine through our actions. It's all about power.